Just moments ago, Buckingham Palace confirmed devastating news about Prince William, and the entire nation is in disbelief. The heir to the throne, once seen as the steady hand guiding the monarchy's future, is now at the center of a heartbreaking announcement that's left millions searching for answers. Rumors are spreading, emotions are high, and the truth is more serious than anyone expected. What really happened inside the palace? The answer may change everything we thought we knew about the royal family. Before we begin, hit that like button and tell us what you think below. Your voice matters in this unfolding royal moment. The news broke like a thunderclap across Britain. Just minutes ago, the royal family confirmed devastating news about Prince William, and the entire nation seems to have frozen in disbelief. It was an announcement few expected, one that arrived without warning, yet carried the weight of something far more personal than politics or royal duty. For years, Prince William has been regarded as the calm center of the storm, the steady hand guiding the monarchy into a new and modern era. His reputation for balance, compassion, and quiet strength has earned him not only respect, but affection from people across the world. And now, with this sudden revelation from the palace, everything feels uncertain. The statement released through official channels was brief but deeply emotional. It acknowledged that the prince is facing what it called an incredibly difficult and private moment, and asked the public to show understanding as the family copes with the situation. Those few lines were enough to send waves of shock through the media. Within seconds, headlines appeared on every major news site. Television anchors spoke with tremors in their voices, unsure of how to describe what had just been confirmed. On social media, the world reacted instantly. Words like heartbreaking and unbelievable trended as millions of people tried to process the news. In homes and cafes, in offices and on public transport, conversations turned to Prince William. People spoke of his composure, his dedication to his country, and his lifelong commitment to service. Many recalled how he carried himself through the passing of Queen Elizabeth, how he stood beside King Charles, and how he continued to work tirelessly despite the endless scrutiny of royal life. To think that the man who seemed unshakable could now be going through something so painful has left the public with a sense of helplessness. Outside Buckingham Palace, crowds began to gather almost immediately after the announcement. Some came simply to stand in silence, holding on to one another as if to steady themselves. Others brought flowers or handwritten notes, small tokens of sympathy for a man in a family they have never met but have watched grow up in the public eye. There was no spectacle in their grief, only quiet disbelief and the shared understanding that even those born into privilege are not immune to life's most human struggles. Inside the palace, sources say the atmosphere is heavy and subdued. Staff members have been instructed to maintain privacy and to handle the media carefully. The prince, they say, is focusing on his family and his own well-being. Close friends have asked for space, and aides have described this as one of the most challenging periods the royal family has faced in recent years. The ripple effect of this news will undoubtedly be felt for weeks to come. Prince William has always represented continuity, the bridge between tradition and the future. But now that bridge appears to tremble under the weight of sorrow as Britain watches and waits. The only certainty is that this moment will be remembered as one of the most difficult and defining in modern royal history. The official confirmation. When the statement from the royal household appeared, it felt as though time had frozen. The words were calm and deliberate, yet their weight rippled across the world. It spoke of a deeply personal and difficult situation involving Prince William and asked for privacy as the family faced it together. The formal language could not mask the heartbreak within. Within minutes, television programs were interrupted. News websites flooded with updates, and social media filled with disbelief. After days of silence, the palace had finally spoken, and the world wished it had not been for such a reason. The timing added to the shock. The royal household had seemed to be entering a rare period of calm after months of duties and appearances, but the announcement shattered that illusion in an instant. Veteran reporters admitted they had not anticipated anything like it. Cameras quickly turned toward Buckingham Palace, where the tall iron gates stood still beneath a grey London sky. That image alone became a symbol of national concern, a silent reflection of the collective unease spreading through Britain. Behind the restrained wording of the statement lay a truth that could not be fully expressed. Something serious had happened, something that reached the very core of the monarchy. For a family known for dignity and reserve, the inclusion of emotional language was striking. Words such as deeply personal and difficult are never chosen lightly in royal communications. They are meant to signal pain while maintaining a veil of privacy, a way to speak without truly revealing. Inside the palace, the mood was said to be somber. Staff members moved quietly through the corridors, whispering among themselves. Even those who had served for decades seemed unsettled. The decision to make the statement had reportedly followed long private discussions between senior royals. There was debate about whether to speak at all, but in the end, it was Prince William's wish that the truth, however difficult, be acknowledged openly. He has always believed in honesty with the public, even when it invites scrutiny. As the news spread, messages of support poured in from across the Commonwealth and beyond. Political figures, celebrities, and ordinary citizens offered sympathy and gratitude, praising the prince's dedication and strength through years of service. Others sent prayers, recognizing that even those born into privilege are not spared from pain. In homes and cafes, people spoke softly about the prince. They remembered the boy who walked behind his mother's coffin, the young man who carried himself with quiet dignity, and the father devoted to his family. To see him linked to such sorrow felt deeply personal to millions. No one had expected this. The words devastating and unexpected dominated every headline. For generations, the monarchy has stood for endurance and composure. Yet this moment revealed its most human truth. Behind the grandeur of tradition, hearts still ache and families still grieve. The royal family's request for privacy has been heard. But the nation continues to wait, hoping that from this darkness, compassion and understanding will eventually emerge. The moment the official statement was released, the world seemed to shift. Within minutes, the news had rippled across every platform, carried by disbelief and sorrow. Hashtags bearing Prince William's name trended globally, uniting millions in shock and sadness. For many, the prince had always represented stability, a reassuring presence in uncertain times. Now he had become the subject of a story no one wanted to believe. Social media turned into a digital vigil. Thousands of messages appeared within moments, words of grief, love, and disbelief from London to New York, Sydney to Toronto. Timelines filled with photographs of Prince William smiling with his family. People wrote the same phrase again and again: "I can't believe this." For a time, politics, gossip, and celebrity chatter faded into silence. The world was grieving together in real time, and every post carried the same unspoken wish: strength for the prince and his family. Public figures and world leaders soon joined the chorus. Statements of sympathy arrived from prime ministers, presidents, and faith leaders, all acknowledging the prince's years of quiet service and dedication. Charities and organizations he had championed expressed solidarity, thanking him for his compassion and leadership. Even former royals who had stepped away from the institution were said to have reached out privately, setting aside past tensions in light of the devastating news. Beyond the screens, the emotion took physical form. Crowds began gathering outside royal residences, moved by empathy more than curiosity. At Buckingham Palace, families stood together in silence. Some held small flags, others placed flowers and handwritten notes along the gates. Simple messages read, "We're with you," and "Stay strong." In Windsor, similar scenes unfolded, the hum of tourists replaced by a hush of reflection. It was as though an entire nation had stopped to breathe the same heavy sigh. Television coverage showed these moments in real time. Reporters spoke softly, their usual formality replaced with a tone of reverence. Experts described the overwhelming public response as unprecedented proof of how deeply connected people feel to Prince William. For many, he has always represented continuity, a modern royal grounded in empathy and family values. To see him face such a personal struggle was to confront the fragility behind the crown. Even those who had never followed royal news found themselves moved. In classrooms, teachers paused lessons to answer children's questions. In offices, people huddled around phones and computers, refreshing updates. On buses and trains, strangers shared quiet nods of understanding. The grief felt collective yet deeply personal, as though each person had lost someone familiar. As night fell, the glow of candles illuminated the palace gates. Flowers carpeted the pavements, and handwritten notes fluttered in the wind. Despite the heartbreak, there was an unmistakable sense of unity, a rare, quiet togetherness that transcended class, age, and belief. Across Britain and beyond, people stood side by side, hearts heavy but joined in compassion. It was a moment that reminded the world that even in sorrow, shared humanity endures, shining through the darkness with the faint but steady light of hope. For as long as he can remember, Prince William has lived under a crown he has not yet worn. The weight of destiny was placed upon his shoulders when he was still a boy, and the world has never stopped watching him since. Every step, every word, every smile has been measured, analyzed, and preserved in the collective memory of a nation that sees in him both the legacy of his mother and the promise of the monarchy's future. To many, he has always seemed composed, steady, and calm. But behind that composure lies a man who has carried more pressure than most could bear. The heir to the throne is not just a royal title, it is a lifelong responsibility, a burden that grows heavier with each passing year. William has been groomed for leadership, prepared for the day he will become king, and expected to balance duty with the demands of modern life. Yet he is also a husband and a father, a man who wishes for normal moments with his family, free from flashing cameras and whispered headlines. For years, he managed to walk that line gracefully. But lately, the cracks have begun to show. In recent months, those close to the palace noticed subtle changes. His schedule became lighter, his public engagements fewer. When he did appear, his usual energy seemed replaced by a quiet fatigue. The easy smile that once charmed millions was there, but it did not reach his eyes. At first, many assumed it was exhaustion, a natural result of balancing family and royal responsibilities. But as the weeks went by, whispers began to circulate among royal watchers that something deeper was wrong. Behind the scenes, sources say William had been struggling to maintain balance. The demands of public duty were colliding with personal challenges that no amount of training could prepare him for. The pressure to uphold the dignity of the monarchy while shielding his loved ones from relentless scrutiny weighed heavily on him. Each day brought new stories, new speculation, new expectations that left little room for peace or privacy. Those closest to him, especially his wife, noticed the toll it was taking. Kate reportedly encouraged him to slow down, to take time for himself and their children, to step back when necessary. For a man who has always defined himself by service and responsibility, that was easier said than done. The monarchy's unspoken rule has always been endurance. Yet even the strongest heart can only endure so much before it begins to ache under the strain. Few realized how serious things had become until now. The recent announcement from the palace has made it clear that the strain was far more profound than anyone imagined. It has revealed the truth that beneath the royal titles and ceremonial duties stands a human being facing extraordinary pressures. For the first time, the world sees Prince William not just as the future king, but as a man caught between two worlds: the life he was born into and the life he longs to protect. The balance that once seemed effortless has finally faltered, and the nation that looked to him for stability now looks to him with compassion. In this moment of vulnerability, his humanity shines brighter than any crown, reminding everyone that even princes can break beneath the weight of expectation. Behind the grand walls of Kensington Palace, away from the flashing cameras and the endless hum of speculation, there is a family quietly hurting. For the public, the news about Prince William came as a shock. But for those closest to him, the struggle has been a slow and painful journey. At the heart of it all stands Kate Middleton, the woman who has stood beside him through every storm. She has always been admired for her composure, her warmth, and the way she balances royal duty with motherhood. Now, more than ever, those qualities are being tested in ways few can truly understand. In the days since the announcement, sources close to the couple have described an atmosphere of quiet resilience inside the palace. Kate has reportedly done everything she can to protect their 3 children from the weight of what is happening. She knows that their lives are already lived in the spotlight, and she wants their home to remain a refuge, a place where laughter can still exist despite the sadness pressing in from outside. Friends say she continues to maintain routines, taking the children to school, reading bedtime stories, and ensuring they are surrounded by love and reassurance. It is her way of holding the family together, of keeping a sense of normalcy amid chaos. For Kate, this is not the first time she has had to summon strength in the face of public scrutiny. Since joining the royal family, she has endured relentless attention, her every expression analyzed and her every action magnified. Yet she has remained a pillar of grace, never letting the pressure crack her composure. Those who know her say she draws her calm from her devotion to her husband and children. She believes in the power of family, in unity, and in the quiet courage that comes from standing by the people you love. Inside the palace, the mood is subdued but not hopeless. Staff members move quietly through the halls, aware of the sensitivity of the moment. Senior royals have offered their support, making private visits and phone calls to check on William and Kate. There is an understanding that what the family is facing goes beyond royal protocol. It is deeply personal, the kind of pain that cannot be managed with press statements or formal gestures. Despite the sorrow, those close to them say the bond between William and Kate has only grown stronger. They have weathered challenges before, but this one has reminded them how fragile life can be and how vital love is in holding everything together. Kate is said to spend her evenings by William's side, offering quiet comfort and reminding him that he is not alone. Together, they are determined to face whatever lies ahead, not as prince and princess, but as husband and wife, as parents doing their best to protect their family from a world that rarely gives them space to breathe. The tone inside the palace may be somber, but it is also filled with love and unity. Those walls, so often symbols of power and tradition, now echo with the sounds of family. The soft voices of children, the quiet words of reassurance, and the unspoken promise between two people who refuse to let hardship break them. Behind the headlines, this is the truth. A family standing together, bound by love, carrying each other through a storm they never saw coming. To the outside world, life within the British monarchy has always seemed gilded and serene. The palaces, the ceremonies, the titles, and the grandeur create an image of privilege that dazzles the imagination. Yet behind those towering gates and marble halls lies a reality that few can comprehend. Royalty is not merely a symbol of power, it is a cage of duty. Every move is watched, every word is judged, and even the quietest moments are rarely private. For Prince William, who has spent his entire life beneath that unyielding spotlight, the burden has grown heavier with each passing year. From the moment he was born, the world claimed a part of him. Cameras flashed before he could even speak, and headlines followed him before he learned to write. The weight of expectation became his constant companion, invisible yet impossible to escape. As a child, he learned that his smiles and gestures could move nations, but he also learned that his mistakes could fuel endless speculation. Over time, that awareness carved itself into his character. The world saw a prince, but behind the scenes there was a young man learning how to exist without ever truly being allowed to be ordinary. When he grew older, those pressures evolved. Marriage, fatherhood, and duty brought joy, but they also intensified the scrutiny. Every family photo, every royal event, every rare moment of vulnerability was dissected by the public and the press. The royal family lives under a microscope that magnifies both triumph and tragedy, leaving little room for personal peace. For Prince William, who has always valued privacy and normalcy, the constant attention has been both an obligation and an invisible battle. The monarchy demands perfection, yet humanity is never perfect. There is an unspoken rule among royals: to endure, to never complain, to keep composure even when life feels unbearable. It is the same lesson passed down through generations from monarch to heir, a doctrine of silent resilience. But in a world where the boundaries between public and private life are blurred by technology and curiosity, maintaining that silence becomes an exhausting act of survival. Friends and advisors have long spoken of William's quiet struggle to reconcile two worlds. One is the life he must live as the future king, where duty comes first. The other is the life he longs for, filled with laughter, family dinners, and freedom from expectation. Balancing those two identities is a task few could withstand. Every public smile hides a calculation. Every speech, a measure of responsibility. Even moments of rest are haunted by the knowledge that the world is always watching. This latest revelation about his personal pain has stripped away the illusion of perfection that so often surrounds the monarchy. It has reminded the world that beneath the crowns and titles are people with hearts that break, with fears and doubts that cannot be erased by tradition. For William, the hidden burden of royal life has become a reminder that duty, though noble, can also be crushing. The prince who symbolizes strength now stands as proof that even those born into privilege can be prisoners of expectation. Behind the gleaming walls of royalty, humanity endures quietly, reminding everyone that even princes bleed unseen. The echoes of the past are impossible to ignore. For centuries, the British monarchy has stood as a symbol of endurance, weathering storms that would have shattered lesser institutions. Yet behind its grandeur and ceremony, it has also been a family marked by sorrow. Every generation has faced its own reckoning moments when the curtain of royal perfection was pulled back to reveal the human pain beneath the crown. This moment with Prince William feels like one of those times, a haunting reflection of history repeating itself. To many, the memory of Princess Diana still lingers like an open wound. Her story remains one of the most poignant in modern royal history, a reminder of how immense pressure and isolation can fracture even the strongest spirit. The young prince who once walked behind his mother's coffin grew up knowing what it means to live under the shadow of tragedy. The image of William and his brother during that funeral procession is etched into the hearts of millions. It was then that the world first saw the unbearable cost of royal life, the way duty and grief can intertwine in the cruelest of ways. Queen Elizabeth's reign, too, was no stranger to heartache. She led through wars, family scandals, and moments of deep national mourning. Yet each time, the monarchy emerged intact not because it was unshaken, but because it found strength in composure. The late Queen's quiet resilience became the standard by which all royals were judged. She once said that, "Grief is the price we pay for love," and her words have echoed through every royal crisis since. Today, those same words resonate once again as another generation faces its own trial beneath the weight of the crown. Prince William has often been seen as the embodiment of stability, the bridge between the old world and the new. Yet as the current crisis unfolds, the parallels to the past are hard to dismiss. The same pressures that haunted his mother and burdened his grandmother now rest on his shoulders. The expectation to lead, to comfort, and to remain composed even in pain is as relentless as ever. Britain finds itself watching history unfold with a familiar mix of sympathy and fascination, wondering whether the lessons of the past have truly been learned. In every era, the monarchy has been tested not by politics, but by emotion. Its strength has always depended on the humanity of its members, and when that humanity falters, the institution trembles. This latest revelation about Prince William has once again reminded the world that crowns cannot shield hearts. The royal family may represent continuity, but its struggles reveal the same fragility found in every household. As Britain looks on, there is a sense of déjà vu, a feeling that the same story is being written once more in a different time. The nation waits to see whether the royal family will endure this storm with grace or be changed by it forever. What remains clear is that history, however painful, continues to shape the monarchy. The past does not fade within those palace walls, it whispers through them, reminding all who wear the crown that legacy and suffering often walk hand in hand. The question on everyone's mind is simple yet heavy with uncertainty. What happens now for Prince William? In the wake of the palace's devastating revelation, speculation has swept across the nation like a storm. For a royal family built on order and tradition, this moment feels like standing at the edge of the unknown. The heir to the throne, long seen as the steady future of the monarchy, now faces a crossroads that could redefine not only his own path but the course of royal life itself. Behind closed doors, conversations are unfolding that few will ever witness. Senior advisors and close aides are said to be meeting with the king, weighing decisions that could alter the rhythm of the royal household. There are whispers of plans already in motion, quiet adjustments to official duties and schedules. Some believe that other senior royals may temporarily assume greater public responsibilities, allowing William the space to focus on his family and well-being. Though the monarchy has adapted in times of crisis before, this feels different. The world is watching more closely than ever, and every move will be etched into history. For King Charles, the situation is not only constitutional but deeply personal. He has always admired his son's sense of duty, describing him as the embodiment of the monarchy's future. Yet behind the calm face of a monarch lies the heart of a father who understands the cost of royal life. Those close to the palace say he has urged patience, determined to protect both his family and the stability of the crown. His message, both public and private, remains clear. The monarchy must endure, but not at the expense of its humanity. Inside Buckingham Palace, the air is thick with quiet anticipation. Every statement, every word chosen for the press, is weighed carefully. The palace has promised further updates, only when appropriate, a phrase that offers both reassurance and frustration to an awaiting public. Without answers, speculation has filled the silence. Some believe the prince may take a temporary step back from engagements, while others think he will continue with reduced duties, supported by those closest to him. Whatever the outcome, the decisions made in these days will leave a lasting mark. Royal historians and commentators agree that this moment could become a defining chapter for the modern monarchy. The institution has survived wars, abdications, and scandal, but it has always evolved when it has shown empathy and transparency. Today, vulnerability is no longer a sign of weakness, it is a bridge that connects royalty with the people they serve. Outside palace gates, the scene is solemn yet hopeful. Crowds gather in silence, leaving flowers and cards, speaking softly about the prince who has carried the nation's hopes since boyhood. The world has watched him grow from a child shaped by grief into a man of strength and compassion. Now it watches him face one of the greatest tests of his life. Whatever choices are made in the coming days, one truth is certain. This moment will be remembered as a turning point, not just for Prince William, but for the monarchy itself. The next steps taken behind those guarded doors will shape the crown's future. As Britain holds its breath and waits, beneath the weight of destiny, a kingdom's concern spreads. Across Britain, a quiet tenderness has spread like a gentle tide. The air feels heavy yet full of empathy, as if the nation itself is holding its breath for the family at the center of this storm. For once, the conversation is not about crowns or protocol or the politics of power, it is about a man, a husband, and a father enduring something that has shaken even the most stoic hearts. The people of the United Kingdom, who have followed Prince William's life from his childhood to his role as a future king, are now looking at him not as a royal figure but as one of their own, a person facing pain that cannot be hidden behind palace walls. In towns and cities, in quiet villages and busy streets, there is a shared sense of compassion that transcends class and background. Strangers speak softly about the news, their voices carrying a tone of concern rather than curiosity. Shop windows display photographs of the prince and his family, surrounded by handwritten notes of hope. In London, outside the gates of Buckingham Palace, people continue to gather not in spectacle, but in solidarity. Candles flicker through the night, flowers pile high along the railings, and the hum of prayer lingers in the air. Inside homes, families sit together watching the news, their eyes reflecting both sorrow and respect. Many remember watching William grow up under the world's gaze, remembering the boy who once grieved so openly for his mother and the young man who vowed to use that pain to build a better world. For them, this moment feels deeply personal. They see not the grandeur of royalty, but the humanity of a man who has given his life to service while trying to shield his loved ones from the relentless weight of public life. Faith leaders across the country have spoken words of comfort, calling for empathy and unity. Community churches have held evening vigils, and cathedrals have opened their doors to those who simply want to light a candle and sit in silence. The nation has faced many dark days before, yet there is something profoundly different about this one. It feels intimate, fragile, as if everyone understands that behind the grandeur of the crown lies the same ache that binds all human hearts. Abroad, messages of support continue to pour in from across the Commonwealth and beyond. World leaders, celebrities, and ordinary citizens have sent words of encouragement. But what matters most to the prince is likely the quiet strength of his own people. Britain has always had a way of rallying in moments of hardship, finding grace in unity and dignity in compassion. This time is no different.